the rest of the show because for some God apparent reason, Mike Tomlin cannot continue to sustain wins in December. You have myself here, Dynamite Dave. Chipper's back with us, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a nice round of applause.
What's up, everybody? I'm sorry, is this the start of the show? Because we just had a really good discussion prior to the show starting, so I didn't know we were starting the show officially now.
Yeah, we're starting the show officially, and we got our guy Dees joining us here in the cloud of smoke, and that's what the last 3 games have been for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dees, how you doing today?
Good. I've got the hood on and everything, dressed like the Grim Reaper because this fucking team is dead.
Hey, I'm not trying to say that I told you so, but I kind of told you so.
Go ahead. Yeah, you did.
And again, and you just agreed with me, like Chipper said, we had some good conversation off air. I don't think that this team wins another game the rest of the season. I mean, I see no hope. I see no light at the end of the tunnel with this team. What the hell is going on here, Dees, with this team?
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, we've seen Tomlin teams collapse multiple times. In fact, what they say, four times in the last 6 years, we've lost 3 in a row in December. I can't remember any time, though, where it got to the point where we have, without name calling, but names have been dropped, we're seeing a lot of finger pointing and inner blame. Of course, the rumors abound as far as who all that's directed at. We can speculate. I mean, it's pretty much confirmed one of them is Cam Sutton. And then there might even be some whispers of Minka in there trying to do too much, which I think for the last couple of weeks, that's probably the case as well. But I don't remember a team this like separated as far as, you know, whose fault is it? Your fault, my fault. You know, it's ridiculous. And I don't see a fix for it. Can it be fixed? Absolutely. But is it going to happen this year? I don't think so.
I was just about to say that you're not fixing that this year. Not happening.
Listen,
No, I don't believe so. I mean, this is another unleash hell moment that is just going to fall on deaf ears.
When we played the schedule game at the beginning of the season, we had us at around 9 or 10 wins to begin with. A couple of those games that we won early in the season, we didn't think that they were going to win. Like the Washington game, that was more or less a coin flip.
Yeah.
So we beat Washington. We thought we would beat. We assumed we would beat Denver at Denver. Okay, we did that. The first half of the season, we won 1 or 2 games that we probably shouldn't have won.
And totally agree.
But the first half of the season, we all agreed, was an easy part of the schedule. And we all knew it going into these last few weeks of the season that this was going to be a bitch of a schedule because it's not only been playing three games in 11 days, but who we were playing. We're playing the Eagles, Ravens, and Kansas City. I'm not defending them. I'm just saying.
I mean, it seems like you are defending.
I'm not defending them. I'm just saying that we had an easy first half of the schedule. These last 3 games, the 3 defenses we played against were nothing compared to what we played in the first half of the season. Eagles' defense is phenomenal. Kansas City's defense is phenomenal. Baltimore got their defense got their shit together over the last few weeks.
Okay, so
they just exposed our offense for what it is.
So you talk about defenses getting their shit together. Why isn't our shit together?
Well,
after 17 weeks, why isn't our shit together? I don't understand it. I heard
we played.
Chipper, I understand who we played, and I do believe we talked this schedule game that this Kansas City game was a very winnable game. We all talked about that.
Correct.
Because Kansas City's not the same. Well, we thought that they're not the same team that they were, but against Pittsburgh, they look like the same team, and Travis Kelce is still wide open because nobody's guarding him. I don't understand how, as a
that's the biggest outrageous thing that comes from that game to me is, okay, if you want to lose the game, fine, lose the game. But lose it because you didn't cover Worthy, or lose it because you let, Pacheco get out in space. You cannot lose it because you let possibly if not one of the greatest tight ends of all time is consistently wide open. Like that there's just no excuse for that whatsoever.
True.
And
Agreed.
to Chipper's point, he is right. I mean, when we looked at the schedule preseason, honestly, for the first half, the only game I chalked up as a loss was the game where we all went, wait a minute, this team is something, and that's the Jets. But turns out the Jets are dog shit. Um, but yeah, I mean, we all knew this was going to be tough, but it's not even that we lost the games; it's the manner of which we lost them and the way that we looked. I
All three
still
games,
will
all 3 games
argue
lost by
it,
double digits.
yeah, and I'll argue until I'm fucking blue in the face that you flip just a couple of plays in both Philly and Baltimore games, and we could have won those games, whether they were penalties, the fight, drop balls, not able to fall on a fumble, blah blah. They go the other way, and those games are completely different. This
You could
Kansas
say-
City game was flat out got our ass kicked.
You could say the same thing in Kansas City because if Patrick Queen catches that punt
True,
that he should have caught,
true, yeah,
you know,
but
and then-
again,
You
the
mean
way
the
that the defense
interception that
played was
yeah,
just
the interception?
Yeah.
I mean,
and if that punt return, if the ball doesn't bounce off the Kansas City player's back and roll back to the Kansas City player, we probably could have had that fumble. But
well, we missed Ben
Yeah.
Skoranek, and that's who would have been on it because Skoranek wouldn't have looked around for the ball. He would have jumped right on top of it. And you know, Dee's brought up a good point a couple weeks back about Skoranek, about how big of an impact he is on special teams, and we've seen it the last 2 games that he hasn't been with us. And you know, Pittsburgh needs to re-sign him. They really do. I mean, and you know, missing George Pickens the last 3 games that he was out, you know, you've seen that push downfield a couple times from Russell Wilson. I don't understand why they didn't go back to him. Like, why are you throwing the ball into triple coverage to Pat Freiermuth? You know, they said that Pickens didn't run the route, but again, Arthur Smith came out and said that the ball wasn't supposed to go to him, and he ran the correct route. It's just Russell didn't look him off. So
yeah, no, that was Orlovsky did a whole breakdown on that play, and he even said like, and even Eric Reed even fucking commented on that video on X, was like Pickens had nothing to do with why he was where he was. Wilson dropped back and his eyes were locked to the right side. He never even looked towards the left side of the field to try and freeze Reed. So that's why you can see, if you watch that in slow-mo, Reed's breaking on that long before he normally would have been. Pickens was supposed to run that little short. He got jammed and he was out of the play anyway. And they're all like, oh, he didn't run his route. It didn't matter. Russ absolutely blew it and then threw a bad pass. Like, he didn't try to look off safety, and then he threw the pass 6 feet outside of Freiermuth's reach, and it basically just served it up on a platter for Reed. Like, it, you know.
these last 3 games, now, if you want to blame Russ, okay, I'm not going to debate you because he's had 3 shitty games, but I'll still go back to the fact that the 3 defenses that we played the last 3 games have been great. Their defensive lines have been great. Russ has been under extreme pressure these last 3 games. He got sacked 5 times against Kansas City. He's been sacked 10 times over these last 3 games.
okay, so then as
the offensive line has been exposed.
So then, as an offensive coordinator, how do you adjust to that? If you know that
How can you if Russ doesn't have
put
time
him
to
in
throw?
shotgun, put him in shotgun and go 5 wide. There you go. Shotgun 5 wide, get the ball out your hand as quick as possible. That's how you do that. You don't let him stand back there, get underneath center, and try to hand the ball off to Najee or Jaylen Warren. Yeah, that's not going to work. We obviously see that that's not going to work. Why can't you put him in the shotgun 5 wide and get the ball out as quick as you can, knowing that you got sacked 10 times in the last 2 games? I don't understand that.
That's why.
Well, he's too short.
Yes. That's a big knock on him. And yeah, I'm not going to 100% blame Russ for everything. However, over the course of, I think it's the last 2 seasons, maybe 3, I can't remember what the stat was at the beginning of the year, the top 2 most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL were Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson creates a lot of his own sacks because of the way that he scrambles. He doesn't ever step up into the pocket. He always pulls what we like to call the picket, which is try and roll outside, and he ends up getting crushed if he doesn't get away. Again, I'm not 100% blaming him because the offensive line has not been great, especially Dan Moore and Broderick Jones seems like they take turns as far as who's going to have a bad game. But Russ does create a lot of those sacks himself. He's not quick enough to get out. At least with Justin, he will try and squirt forward and then roll out. Russ always does the exact same thing every time he gets pressure, which is he tries to do the little loop around that Kenny Pickett so famously got caught in many, many times. With an offensive line that's young and struggling right now, you cannot do that because these defensive linemen and edges are too quick. And Russ doesn't have the step that he had 5-6 years ago. And that's why, part of the reason why, that he is one of the most sacked quarterbacks over the last few years. All that being said, as we sit here today right now, unless there's this magical turnaround over the next 2 weeks, which, we know goddamn well that's not going to happen. I'm done with Russ. I can he make some plays? Yeah. But looking forward, do I see drastic improvement from him? No, I'm not, unless he brings the rumored number way down, i.e. no more than 20 to 25 million. I'm moving on.
I said that before him struggling. That's what he needs to get. He's a 36-year-old quarterback that has minimal left in the gas tank, and he hasn't looked as good as he should be because he's older, and we can obviously tell now that why Denver got rid of him. He's being Russ of the old, or Russ of the Denver. That's why they got rid of him. Good thing that we're not paying him as much money. We got him on a $1.2 million contract. With that being said, though, Dees, are you okay if Tomlin made a switch to Justin Fields for this last game to see what he got? Maybe, and in the playoffs to see what he's got. You have Russell Wilson there if it doesn't work out in the playoff game. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Because there's a lot of people that are calling for Russ to be pulled and Justin be put in.
I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it just to kind of see what, if anything, Justin has learned. But I don't know. I mean, if at the end of the day, look, we're still trying to win a championship, right? I mean, whether we believe it's going to happen or not, that's the key here. I don't think that is going to be the best for this locker room right now. I think that's just going to cause more dissent and chaos. And would I like to see it? Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him out there to see, kind of what maybe he's learned, but I don't think that's the answer. Now, moving forward into next year, put a gun to my head right now, and I'm going to tell you I want Justin Fields to be my starting quarterback over Russ Wilson.
Chipper, your thoughts?
I find it interesting that a few weeks ago we were singing his praises because he threw for 300-some yards and putting up good numbers. And then over these last couple of weeks, because the offensive line has sucked.
Well, you're putting the full blame on the offensive line.
He hasn't put up good numbers, and all of a sudden you guys want to throw him off to the side.
I'm the one that said that he wasn't worth the contract that you said that he was expecting to get, $33 to $38 million.
I'm not saying. I'm talking about now. You're saying.
And you're right.
It's not his fault. Again,
it is his fault.
The offensive line sucks.
It's partial of his fault. It's partial. I'll give.
No, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and point the finger right at directly at Russ. He's not played well for sure. He hasn't had much help from the offensive line, and Pickens was out. So yeah, could he come out against this Bengal team and throw for another 400 and win back our love? Absolutely, but
especially
that's just going to be the Bengals.
One of the worst defenses in the league.
But they have a high-powered offense that drove down the field multiple times and scored touchdowns yesterday. I understand and embarrassed the shit out of them guys.
I understand it. We're talking about Cincinnati and their defense and their offense.
You can put up 41 points against them; they'll score 45.
We've proven that we can put up the numbers. However, over the last 3 games, we've only averaged 13 points a game.
Well, if you're
why is that? Because the last 3 defenses have been way better defenses than we've previously played.
If you're counting Cincinnati,
and 2 of those were without George Pickens, by the way.
And if you're counting Cincinnati as a turnaround game, you got another thing coming, Chipper, because after what I seen from Cincinnati yesterday, Cincinnati is hungry and still trying to get into the playoffs, and they're going to win by any means necessary. And they drove down the field. Joe Burrow looked like the Joe Burrow of old. T. Higgins got involved. They're throwing the ball all the way down the field, big plays in the game, things that Pittsburgh cannot do. They cannot throw the ball down the field. at all. They can't do it unless Pickens is there. They're not looking for Mike Williams. The only two people on the team that are getting deep balls is Calvin Austin and George Pickens. And why is that? You got Mike Williams at trade deadline to use him inside the red zone. How many times have they tried to throw 4 or 5 wide in the red zone and throw it up for Mike Williams to get it? Not once. How many targets has he had over the last 4 games? I would say at least less than 10. For some reason, and Dee's brought it up, we don't know the reason why. Is he in the doghouse in Pittsburgh? Is they're not using him for some reason? I don't know. What's the problem? You're not using Freiermuth. Arthur Smith's supposed to be this guru with tight ends. Why are you not having a 3 tight end set inside the 2-yard line?
They've been targeting Pat quite a bit, actually.
Well, you have Michael Pruitt, and you have Michael Pruitt, and you have also Washington. Why are you not using them guys inside your red zone? I see that these other teams like Kansas City, and Kansas City is a different beast than what we got, but they've used 3 tight ends inside the red zone, and they find ways to get into the end zone.
We've always had issues scoring from inside the red zone.
We have, Chipper, but it's got to change. Like how do you not see that?
Great question. It's been that way.
No, I mean, like we talked about last week, that problem has persisted since Cower. Like, we've been a shit red zone team, with the exception of the Killer B years with Todd Haley. Our red zone offense, I can't remember the last time that we got in the red zone. I'm like, this is a touchdown, because it's usually not. You know, Jeff Reed was a fucking folk hero in Pittsburgh for years until he absolutely fell off the face of the earth. And then, you know, we picked up Boz off the scrap heap, who did good, but still never really had a powerful leg up until these last few years. I don't know if he's been tested for fucking steroids or not, but he never used to be this. I mean, really, you remember when we got Boz, like anything beyond 50 was like, maybe, but now he's just absolute money. But like, our MVP for the last 20 years, more times than not, has been our kicker, because our red zone offense hasn't been great. And it's been abysmal ever since Randy Fichtner and everybody after him, and Arthur Smith has been no different. There's only one way that you can point the finger there, and that's the guy in charge.
And who
I think it's Tomlin. I mean, I have to believe, because this is what my eyes tell me, that both the offensive and defensive coordinators are, well, for one, the defensive coordinator is just, that's his title. We haven't had somebody that was an actual defensive coordinator since Dick LeBeau left. But I believe that they are under strict edicts from the coach to super conservative it once, you know, I think all the way down the field, other than a few shots here and there.
Always playing zone.
Yeah, it's conservative. It's play not to lose. It's don't make the big mistake. Don't give up, or don't force a ball in to cause a turnover. Just run the ball, throw a little out pass, and if it doesn't work, we'll bring kicker on, kick 3 points. I honestly believe that is Mike Tomlin's philosophy. And we know he's not getting fired. He's not going to resign. He's not going anywhere. The only hope of this is that Rooney steps in and says, look, I want you as my coach, but you have to relinquish control of the offense and defense to a degree that let these guys coach. And, sure, make the big decisions, like go for it on 4th down, or, hey, I really like to see this guy get the ball here, or whatever. But I really think he is pulling the strings a lot tighter than anybody can admit to.
We one of the biggest mistakes that the Steelers made, and I think we talked about this last year, maybe even the year before, letting Brian, what's his name?
Brian
Flores.
Letting him go and not promoting him to defensive coordinator. Look what he's doing in Minnesota right now. Minnesota's got one of the best defenses in the league. So by not keeping him, promoting him to defensive coordinator was a huge mistake.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you think it was that we didn't keep him, or do you think Flores told Mike Tomlin, hey, I want to be the defensive coordinator. I don't want to just have the name on the door while you sit here and call all my defenses?
I think it's the latter.
That could very well be, like, because we know Flores is a hell of a defensive coach. He always has been.
Yep.
And I really think that might have a lot to do with it. That's why we've hired from within since Dick LeBeau left. We turned it right over to Butler, who wasn't bad, but still there were some questions and some conservative defensive play calling and whatnot. He leaves, and then again, we grab a guy that's already in-house because Tomlin doesn't then have to change anything. It's the same defense, albeit a form of what Dick LeBeau had here, but obviously with the Mike Tomlin twists on it. And I think he's the only one that's really in charge of the defense right now. I think somebody's just getting paid to have the title, and he might make suggestions and help with film study, but I don't think there's any way in hell that Terrell Austin is the one that's sitting there and calling every single defensive play.
No, and again, it goes back to, for some reason, they love to play zone. They're afraid to play more man-to-man. So, offenses realize that, and then they're just playing the 5-10 yard per pass game until the deep ball opens up. Like against Kansas City, that was his name, Dustin, or that was his name, number 15, the one that caught the deep ball, and then I think he had a touchdown pass. Dustin something, Kansas City.
Number 15, Watson. You sure?
I don't remember.
Number 15 is Mahomes. You're talking about number 84, Watson.
Yeah, Watson's the one.
Is Watson?
Yeah,
Dustin Watson.
Yeah, Dustin
Okay,
Watson.
okay.
He caught the deep ball.
Okay,
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, and you make no adjustments on that. Like, why ain't you bringing another safety over there to help you? I mean, I get it, and we talked again about this defense being elite, and injuries. Yeah, injuries has been a key part of this. But again, we've seen time after time this year, offensive had 75 to 80 yard drives down the field and scoring, and our defense is staying on there on the field, and they're not making any adjustments whatsoever. You go out and get Cam Sutton, who was supposed to be your mid-season acquisition, because he was suspended for the first 8 games. That's been an epic fail. You go and keep James Pierre on your roster. I mean, he dropped a punt that he still could be running, fake punt that he could still be running in Cleveland against them. He's also got burnt multiple times. Your superstar free safety, Minkah Fitzpatrick, hasn't done anything. Yeah, they haven't thrown to him, but how does Baltimore move Marlon Humphrey over to where he's supposed to be and bring him up on the line? But Pittsburgh can't do that to have Minkah make more plays and whatnot. The defense has changed. I mean, you see it around the league. Why are we not making these changes? It's what I want to know. And why is it that we see Philly doing the tush push and Kenny Pickett, whether people like to believe him or not? He had a decent game last week. He played decent for
wasn't terrible. I mean, it wasn't like, oh my God, Kenny Pickett's a starter in this league. But he did what a decent backup. Yeah, he did what a decent backup with that much talent around you does, which is just make enough plays to. And let's be honest, they should have won that game. They were a Dante Smith drop away from winning that game. I feel like they're going to get beat today, though. I don't know, just something in my gut says that they're going to focus so much on the only way they win today is Saquon. They just feed him nonstop. I don't know about Dallas's run defense, but he needs 260 to break the record.
Yeah,
160 to eclipse 2,000.
Yeah,
but I think I picked the Cowboys just because that's how much I don't believe in Kenny Pickett, but we'll see.
I don't care how many yards he rushes for. I just need him to score a touchdown.
Well, Eric Dickerson agrees with you. He doesn't want him to break the record. He's pissed off about it. But anyway,
these last few games, though, I mean, you're right. The defense has been getting their ass kicked.
It's not just the last few.
Philadelphia had two? They had 1 10-minute drive at the end of the game that they killed us on, and they also had another long drive.
Yeah, we had the ball for 5 minutes the entire second half of that game.
And whose fault is that?
Kansas City did the same thing to us.
Whose fault is that?
Yeah, the defense.
It's
defensive coordinator.
But it's not even like, look, yeah, it is mostly the defense's fault. But again, you cannot expect to play great, let alone elite defense when you're literally on the field every fucking 2 minutes because your offense can't get a first down.
And
I don't care.
And I agree
I
with
don't
you.
care if you have the 1976 Steelers out there. If your offense cannot get a couple of first downs and give those defensive guys a blow, they're going to get wrecked.
And I totally agree with you with that. I don't disagree. But again, getting back to the offense that leads the defense out onto the field, why are we punting the ball when you're down 16 on a 4th and 2 and you go for it earlier in the game when you're at a 4th and 1 and you hope to have them jump off sides? What I mean, that's what I don't understand. You hope to have them jump off sides when it's a 6-point game, but you're down 2 touchdowns and you punt it on a 4th and 2. What sense does that make? Knowing that
I
your
get
defense,
tired of the 4th and shorts where we just throw a jump ball. Like that's happened like 3 times this year, where it's 4th and less than 5. And you just absolutely uncork a 40-yard bomb. Like this past week, it was to Calvin Austin. Like, oh, if you're going to do that, fine. But don't throw it to the shortest guy you got. At that point, you're just admitting that you're hoping for a DPI.
correct.
And I've also had enough of seeing Cordell Patterson on 3rd and short or 4th and short.
Yeah, look, I was excited.
That shit just is not working anymore. The guy.
I was excited when we signed Cordell Patterson because of the new kickoff rule and everything, but he is clearly not who he used to be. And the fact that they put him on the field with the offense when we have 2 healthy backs baffles me, especially on a critical 3rd down. I don't mind having him on the roster because he's not complete,
He's
ass at running back. And you could use him in a pinch if one of those other 2 guys go down. But as far as I'm concerned, if they're healthy, there is no reason for any other running back to be on the field not named Najee Harris or Jaylen Warren.
100%.
And
100%.
And I mean, they drafted Dijon Edwards from Georgia, who they cut at the beginning of camp and whatnot, or at the beginning of the regular season. He was supposed to be one of the guys that they were trying to bring in to be a third back when Cordell Patterson, was injured at the beginning of the season with his ankle. You haven't even re-signed him, and then you go sign Shumklin or whatever his name is. That
off and on,
yeah, you sign that guy, and he's got a couple, snaps this year, and started a game for Pittsburgh and didn't get no carries when Justin was out there. I don't understand why you don't have another 3rd down back that is different than Najee and is different than Jaylen Warren. I mean, you look at all the other good teams in the AFC, they got 3 or 4 running backs that you could stick out there and they can make an impact in the game. Again, I was happy about the Cordero Patterson signing, and he just hasn't lived up to what he was before. I mean, I don't know if it's the stagnant offense that Arthur Smith is running, but I still want to give Arthur Smith another year with this offense and get people in the proper position on the offensive line. But again, Chipper talks about how bad the offensive line is and Russ getting sacked. I don't put the 100% blame on just the offensive line. I mean,
no.
Russell and Arthur Smith. You have to call a game that suits your quarterback. Again, you see him getting sacked. You say he's too small. You're right. He's too small. But you could see the field better from a shotgun position 5 wide. Why are all these other quarterbacks doing that? Patrick Mahomes, again, is doing that. Kenny Pickett. They seem that. How many times was he under center last week? I would count 2 times when he was handing the ball off to Saquon, and then Saquon lined up in the backfield and he was watching the field. So you have to adjust during the game for what your game plan is and for what your opponent is. They're not doing that at all. They're not doing nothing like that. Russ is underneath center, does the same thing like you said. Dees goes out and does that stupid ass bootleg out, and then he's running the clock down to 3. He's running the clock down to 2 seconds before the game clock expires. Why? Like, get it out.
I have an answer. I may have an answer to your why Russ is under center all the time.
Why?
Is it because of the play action? Because they run.
Yeah,
the ball
that's exactly it. Because I mean, a lot of these younger quarterbacks come into the league. Like Justin Fields never played under center in college, ever. That's why he struggles with the snaps when he's under center, and that's why they ran him a shotgun more times than not. Russ has been around. He came from a I formation, so he's used to being that. And that's a big part of it with the play action. You just get better play action with the under center fake handoff as opposed to the catch the shotgun and act like you're handing the guy the ball. It's just, I'm not saying run shotgun all the time, but maybe a little bit more mix. The other knock I have on Russ is he panics so much. And instead of looking for the open checkdowns, which I'm noticing are there, he just heaves it out of bounds, which great. You didn't take a sack there, but you also just wasted it down when you could have got the ball to Jalen or Muth or somebody, in that 2, 3, 4 yard range that maybe turns it into something. I've seen that a lot more these last couple of weeks where, that's great. We used to piss and moan about Ben hanging onto the ball. And taking sacks. Whereas, is that any worse than just chucking it out of the bounds and you're still not making a play?
Or even Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky, just throwing the ball down there and risking more Mitch Trubisky than Pickett, because Pickett, was a game manager. He didn't make that many mistakes, but Trubisky certainly took more chances and whatnot. But I think that's why they put him under center so much, because for the simple fact, we love running the ball on first down all the time. We absolutely love running the ball on first down all the time. So then when you run, and then when you run the ball so much, that's where your play action comes into play, and that's the idea.
I won't even Russ hasn't been trash. He's had some bad plays and things like that. I'm not totally anti-Russ. I just think that we've seen the best of what we're going to get out of Russ, and you bring him back next year, another year older. Is it going to magically turn this around? I mean, he's playing no different than he played last year in Denver. Denver had 26 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, 8 interceptions, something like that.
Yeah.
So he doesn't turn the ball over that much. Like these last couple of weeks, we've had a couple of bad turnovers. That's not the norm for him. I'm not, worried that he's just going to turn into this interception machine, because he is usually smart enough with the football to not take those risks, which is why when he throws the deep ball, 9 times out of 10, if it's not caught by one of us, it's 5 yards overthrown. He does, know how to usually put the ball where it can't be picked. These last couple of weeks, not Russell Wilson football. He's thrown some bad passes. Hopefully that's just, the exception and not the new rule.
So let me ask you this question: Have we seen the Steelers peak this year already? Or are they done peaking?
Oh yeah,
they're done for the year.
Well, they peaked obviously because of the first half of the schedule was so easy. Now we're playing legitimate defenses, so yeah, they've peaked. Now let's see what we can do against Cincinnati, who has, again, like I said, one of the worst defenses in the league. So we'll see what happens.
I've got no reason to believe that they didn't peak. Now, again, put on my rose-colored glasses. Can they get it back? Yeah, the talent is there. Whether you want to admit it or not, man for man, this team has enough talent to compete for a Super Bowl. But will they put it together on the field? Probably not, because we've heard this song before. It's there, though. I mean, I think that could we add a couple more pieces that would make it even better? Certainly.
Like a wide receiver.
But right now, as this team sits, I think that when everything is clicking, which we haven't seen in several weeks, when everything is clicking, this team is talented enough to run with anybody in the NFL. But for some reason, they just find a way to crumble.
Let me ask you guys this question, okay? And this was 2 things that were brought up on Twitter that I wanted to ask you guys. So why is it that the Steelers go and draft these talented wide receivers and they always have problems with them, then they go on and have stellar careers everywhere else? Answer that question real quick.
Great question. Don't have an answer.
So I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Why is it that Pittsburgh drafts these good wide receivers out of college? Like when we got Pickens, we were excited. We had Antonio Brown. We had Chase Claypool, Holmes, Hines Ward, Antoine Randall. We had all these big name wide receivers. And for some reason, Pittsburgh always has a big problem with wide receivers and getting in trouble, being divas. And then they leave here and they go on and win championships. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I don't know why you threw Antoine Randall L's name in there because he never was a problem. Neither was Hines Ward. I think that we're seeing.
I'm not saying that them two were a problem. I'm saying we go drafted these wide receivers. They leave here. Antoine Randall L left. He was the only one that went to Washington and came back and won a Super Bowl again with Pittsburgh. But anyway, I'm just using them as an example.
I don't know. Like Martavis Bryant wasn't a locker room problem or anything like that. He just couldn't stop smoking weed when it was illegal. Antonio Brown, I think, just kind of got too into himself, and I commend Mike Tomlin for keeping his ego in check for as long as he did. Why he, you could argue that maybe Burfict just absolutely knocked the last screw loose, and then he became the problem that he became. Chase Claypool, I think also now we're getting into this new generation of me. I think he had too good of a rookie year and got too big of a head and decided that he was going to be a superstar. And when things didn't go his way, he started making some boneheaded mistakes. But I don't know. It is baffling. I agree that for some reason or another, we get some of these stud receivers that are off their rocker in one way or another.
Well, you know what they all have in common, though? They were drafted by Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. But I mean, and that was what I was going to get to. Like, it's a trend here with these wide receivers. We're drafting these wide receivers and we're putting the blame, like these just did, all on the wide receivers. Oh, they got a big head. They didn't do this properly. You had a good rookie season or whatnot. Why are we not blaming the coach? Because that's where it starts at. It starts with coaching. Why are we not placing the blame on Mike Tomlin for that? That's what I want to know.
You would think that 3 years in that Tomlin would have gotten his shit and Pickens would have gotten a clue and get his shit together, but apparently not.
But whose problem is that? Is that George Pickens' fault or is that coaching's fault?
Can it be both?
It can be both. I mean, you obviously seen he's been with Pittsburgh for 3 years now, right? Mm-hmm. And every year he's been with Pittsburgh, he's had a mediocre quarterback, if not mediocre or less quarterback. Yeah. You put him with the team that's got like a Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, any of them players, he's going to ball out. You had Deontay Johnson last year. Yeah, we know that he was a head case or whatever, diva. But how do you have a guy who's got 1,000-yard wide receiving season have 1 touchdown, and then the year before that have 0 touchdowns? Why is that? And now Deontay's the problem because Pittsburgh let him go. Mm-hmm. You traded him because you said he was a locker room problem. Mm-hmm. When are we going to start blaming the coaching for this? Like, why didn't you bring Hines Ward in or go get a veteran wide receiver who doesn't play games? You went out last year and got Allen Robinson. Okay, whip D. You go out this year and get Van Jefferson. Okay, whip D. You went out and got Scotty Miller, who I thought would be a little bit more involved in the offense, and that hasn't been done. He's a veteran wide receiver that can make the plays. We've seen him for 1 game do that. Why are we not placing the blame on coaching?
So,
to be fair, Deontay Johnson was a problem in Carolina and got his ass shipped out of there to Baltimore, where he was a problem and got his ass shipped out of there. So maybe they were onto something when they got him the hell out of here.
Well, maybe, but if you talk to all the Steelers like Cam Ward or not Cam Ward, but Cam Hayward and all the other people on the offense and the wide receiver coach just said that Deontay wasn't that big of a problem in Pittsburgh. He just had some drops, and then last year he just gave up because he had
some drops and didn't block.
Yeah, he had some drops and didn't block, and then he basically told Tomlin, we need another quarterback. He publicly told him that. And that's when Tomlin was like, yeah, keep that in-house.
So what do we do with George Pickens? Do we sign him? Do we let him go after next year? Do we trade him now?
No, you don't trade him because then you set yourself back even further. Now you have to go get other wide receivers to take it to fill in for that.
Well, I'll throw this out there because I saw this on Twitter since you brought this topic up. Signing T. Higgins trade George Pickens for a second-round pick and then draft a wide receiver with that second-round pick?
No.
Why not?
Keep George Pickens, sign T. Higgins, and go draft
So you're basically saying you're willing to deal with George Pickens and all his antics.
Are you sure they're all
off on the field? Take
get
his
him the
helmet
football?
off,
Get him the football.
take his
Get
helmet
him the
off,
football.
bitching and moaning on TV. And,
Get him the
national
football.
TV.
Listen, we've seen what he can do and how bad our offense is without him.
I'm going to reserve judgment on George Pickens until I see what happens this offseason with his contract talks, because this
Correct.
is he's coming up on extension year.
Right.
If they do not sign him to an extension, he's going to, well, he may play next year, but he won't be a Steeler beyond next season. I don't see him, like, if they don't get the contract that he wants this offseason, I think he will then just say fuck it and will play his last year here next season.
So if the front office or even ownership says, we're tired of his antics, we're not going to put up with him being a head case.
But
anymore,
what has he
and-
really
and-
done,
and-
though,
and then
Chipper?
go
Like,
ahead
what
and
has
then
he
go-
done?
And then go ahead and sign T. Higgins and then trade him. You wouldn't be for that?
Depends on what you're trading him for.
A second-round pick.
You'd have to hit on that second round pick.
Right.
But are we going to trade Pickens if you get a T. Higgins? Probably not.
I'm
Why
not
would you?
100%. I'm not 100% sold on T. Higgins yet, because we haven't seen T. Higgins as number one.
True.
I think
And-
T.
and
Higgins is very talented. Don't get me wrong, but he's also playing across from the number one, maybe 1A wide receiver in the world, and the only other person I put him in the same ballpark is Justin.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Deez, on that thought. Is George Pickens a better wide receiver than T. Higgins?
Right now, no, probably not. As I see Higgins do more than just, I mean, George is usually on a deep ball, right? Like, we don't see George run too many ins and curls and slants. He does every now and then, but George is a home run guy. Now, do I think George is one of, if not the best contested catch guys in the NFL? Absolutely. But as a every down 100 catch guy, I would probably give the edge to T, just based off of what I've seen. But that's kind of skewed because, again, T is playing against, guys that have to worry about number one on the other side of the field.
And also has Joe Burrow as his quarterback.
Okay,
that
so-
too. Yeah.
So then if you keep if you go sign T. Higgins, right,
Mhm.
and you trade George Pickens,
Mhm.
D just said that he's not sold on him as being our number one. Okay, so now you sign T. Higgins and you get rid of Pickens. Then where do you go from there? You say you draft a wide receiver in the second round.
Mhm.
You want him to come in and be your number one over T. Higgins? Is that what you're?
No.
And so you're okay with giving T. Higgins your number one wide receiver role?
Sure.
And
I'm
maybe he will be a superstar in that role. We don't know because we haven't seen it. The problem is T. Higgins believes he is a number one superstar wide receiver.
And
And
he will
therefore-
get superstar number one money.
Exactly, which is exactly why, in my opinion, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, I don't think that you re-sign George Pickens and then sign T. Higgins, because look, the numbers show our offense is 10 points better per game with George on the field.
Right.
And if you think for a second that his agent isn't going to use that come contract time, you're nuts. George
Correct.
Pickens is going to command number one receiver money, maybe not quite in the same ballpark as Justin and Jamar and guys like that. But now you're talking, you're going to go out and you're going to get T. Higgins in free agency, and you're going to pay George Pickens, both of whom want number one money. I don't see how that's going to work.
Correct.
And then you're also you're saying that you're willing to put up with, if you're saying you're going to extend George Pickens, you're saying that you're willing to put up with all his shit for the next couple of years.
But what shit have we put
His
up with?
antics.
What are his antics that he's doing?
Him giving up on running routes.
Okay,
Him taking his helmet off and pouting and getting all upset.
get him the football. D just said that you're 10 points better on offense. Get him
I'm not
the
debating
football.
that, but
Get him the football.
I'm not debating that, but you're willing to put up with essentially another
Yes.
Antonio Brown. He's not going to
To,
block.
to,
He's
to
not gonna
Chipper's
run
point,
routes.
even when he's played, he has been problematic in that he's mouthy. He starts fight. He did that in Georgia. Go back and pull his tape on Georgia. He was in several fights at Georgia. I could see it becoming a bigger issue down the line because he was a bulldog and he is a dog. Like,
Okay,
I don't
and
know if
I
it's
like
that-
to have somebody with some nastiness on my team, especially your wide receiver. Don't play games. I mean, go out there.
Look, I'm in agreement. I want a dog, but I don't want a dog that's going to cost me 15 yards a couple times a game either, though.
Well, you're
know what I'm
right, and
saying?
that all goes to coaching, where you tell him, "Hey, dude, you got to settle down, or we're going to take some plays away from you." That all in coaching. Yes, I agree with what Chipper's saying, but you want to give up on this guy who is problematic because you don't want to put up with it, and how long are you going to deal with it?
I'm not saying I want to give up on
No,
him.
Chipper's saying,
Yeah.
you want to bring him back. Yes, he is talented. Let him go to Kansas City. Let him walk and go to Kansas City. I guarantee they go to Super Bowl. And then he wins a ring and puts it on his middle finger and says, "Fuck you, Pittsburgh." Or let him go to Detroit. He'll win a championship there. Let him go to San Francisco.
Well, isn't there a chance that when he actually gets that money, that he'll even be worse?
We don't know that.
Be a worse diva, more of a head
It
case?
depends on who your quarterback is moving forward.
True.
If you get him the football, he's not going to complain. Get him the football. That's all I got to say is get him the football. Find ways to keep his mind occupied. A wide receiver who gets the football shuts their mouth and plays. That's exactly what it is.
According to some in the media, he's going to be a chief because they all swear to God that he told Mahomes to come get him.
Yeah,
Which the way this team has played over the last few weeks, I'd fucking tell him to come get me too.
Yeah, exactly. But you want to give up on George Pickens, trade him for a second-round draft pick, take a chance on a second-round wide receiver, go sign T. Higgins. You're starting back at square one. You criticized Tony Khan for not, going to get a wide receiver when they traded Deontay Johnson, but yet you want to sit here and give up Omar Khan. I'm sorry, you wanted to.
Well, that was the biggest mistake Omar Khan did, and that's where he totally fucked this whole season up.
So now you want to give up our number one wide receiver, trade him, sign T. Higgins to a big contract. If he comes here and he's a bust, then what do? You trade him after 2 years? I say you give Pickens another year with a decent quarterback. If you're going to sign Russ, then give Russ a full season. If it don't work, then you draft a quarterback or whoever your quarterback is. You got Kirk Cousins who's out there, which people say, oh, you don't want. He's 36 years old. You're going to essentially get him on the same contract.
Washed. He's fucking
You got
washed.
Sam Darnold out there. Who's 27 years old, who's going to get another big contract. You can go sign him.
Whoever thought we'd see that.
I mean, the right system, like you said, right system. Two good wide
To be
receivers.
fair, Darnold was with the Jets, and what we found out recently about the Jets, maybe some of these quarterbacks aren't so bad. Hell, Zach Wilson might be a fucking superstar, but he was in New York Jet hell, and he hasn't had a chance yet.
Well, like I put in Messenger the other day. I mean, when you throw in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and T.J. Hawkinson, I mean. I'm just saying that's definitely not hurting your situation.
Okay. So to your point,
so is it when it comes to Sam Darnold, is it the system, or is he actually really that good?
Okay, so let me ask you this question then. You just said that. So then if you go sign T. Higgins, right? So you have two stud wide receivers. You would agree with that, right? Pittsburgh, two stud wide receivers.
You had Pickens and Higgins.
Correct?
Yep.
And you put Darnold there.
I'm not arguing that fact. I just go back to say, is Darnold's situation, because he's been so bad since he's been in the league,
but
Carolina and the Jets.
And look who you're talking about, Carolina and the Jets.
Is it a system thing because he has Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson to throw to, or is he really that good?
Well, there's two ways we'll find out.
We'll never know.
There's two ways we'll find out.
I think he's solid. I think he absolutely is a benefactor of having the players around him, not to mention a really good offensive coach.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think Sam Darnold is Tom Brady or Peyton Manning? No, I think he's a serviceable quarterback who will only get better with better talent around him.
And George says Sam Darnold is going to get re-signed by the Vikings. We don't know that because the thing was proposed this past week on the Pat McAfee show is, do you sign Darnold back? And if you do, you trade JJ McCarthy. Because they're not going to keep both of them. They're not keeping both of them.
You
drafted-
could. McCarthy's on a rookie deal. Where's he going?
You could
You could
trade him.
absolutely sign Well, but again, that would have to be on JJ to like, hey, get me out of here. But the fact is, he's under contract on a rookie deal, so they could and say, hey, we're going to sign
I don't see
Sam
that
to a
happening.
3-year deal. No, it probably won't. But I'm just saying it could happen. Look how long Jordan Love sat behind Aaron in
especially
Green
with
Bay.
all these teams looking for quarterbacks next year. Sam Darnold is going to get paid, whether it be by the Vikings or someplace else. He's going to get paid.
And his quarterback draft class isn't necessarily the best as far as quarterbacks.
But now here's the question, though. Are you, as a Steeler fan, willing to give up the kind of money that other teams will give up, which is going to be maybe not like top 5 quarterback money, but he's going to be probably in that top 5 to 10 range? Are you willing to risk giving him that kind of money, which you're going to be talking probably upwards of 40 to 45 million a year for Sam Darnold?
You think Sam Darnold's going to get $40 to $45 million a year?
If his agent is worth
There's
anything,
a difference between him and Kirk Cousins.
What's the difference?
Kirk Cousins is older. Sam Darnold is 27 years old.
Well, I mean, what do you think he's going to get?
I would say 35 to maybe 38 million.
Daniel Jones got a shitload of money. You don't think?
I'm just saying. Look what he did with this team. Yeah, I bet he's he's going to be in the ballpark of 40 mil.
Just look at what some of these quarterbacks that got paid that are worse than him.
Listen.
Somebody out there is going to pay him $40 million a year. Write it down.
I mean, you're probably right, but is he worth that? No.
It doesn't matter. It's the market value. That's what I kept bringing up about Russell Wilson. It's market value.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. You're worth what somebody is willing to pay you.
That's what I brought up weeks ago about Russell Wilson. It's not a matter of what you're willing to pay him. It's the market value.
So are you still market value on Russell Wilson right now?
What, 30 to 35 million?
Yes.
Right now?
Yes.
No. And I never once said that I would sign him for that. I just brought up the fact that
he's never said he's worth that. He's saying that's what the value of other teams are going to see.
Well, then Russell Wilson can go somewhere else and get 30 to 35 million.
Not right now, not now after these last 3 games, but if he continued on that pace, not necessarily 400 yards like he had against Cincinnati, but if Russ, let's just say these last 3 games, Russ has been in the neighborhood of 300 yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns, minimal picks for these last few weeks against these top tier defenses, he absolutely would have been valued in the 30 to 35 million. Now, does that mean we or anybody else would have? Somebody would pay it. Somebody would pay it. Bottom line, end of story. Is our eyes telling us that he's worth that? No, but somebody out there will fucking pay him that kind of money. Not now, because he has not looked great. Just like Sam Darnold.
I don't think Darnold gets 40 to 45 million. I don't think so.
Then you don't pay attention to the NFL because there are dumb owners out there who overpay.
Right. You're right. He's probably going to get that, but I don't think that he's worth it. I don't think.
Who gives a shit if he's worth it or not? That's not what we're saying. I'm not telling you that he's a $45 million quarterback. What I'm telling you is that somebody out there does think he's a $45 million quarterback because they have their choice. They can overpay for Sam Darnold, or they can overpay for some like a Kirk Cousins, or it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Again, it's market value. It's not what you think he's worth.
We'll see. We'll see this offseason.
And like Dee says, some team will give Sam Darnold.
Who's the number one free?
Roughly $40 million.
If the offseason started today, who's the number one free agent quarterback right now?
I honestly don't even know who's available other than Sam Darnold. I'm 100% honest. I don't know. Not a clue.
So you got Sam Darnold,
Kirk Cousins will be because
you got Sam
Falcons will
Darnold.
let
You
him
got
go.
your top 5 are Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, Deshaun, or not Watson, but Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Mason Rudolph, Sam Bradford. He's a free agent at the end of this year.
Who?
Isn't Sam
Who?
Bradford a free agent?
Sam Bradford.
Or not Sam Bradford? What's his name from the Rams?
Matt
Stafford.
Matthew Stafford. He's a free agent at the end of the year. He's 35 years old. You going to take a chance on him?
Is he a free agent? I didn't know
I
Stafford
thought
was
that
gonna
they
be a
said-
free agent.
I thought that they said he was that his contract.
He might
is
be.
up
I'm just
I don't-
it's
I don't
possible.
I think he stays in LA.
I mean, I do too, but I don't know. You guys say that that's what the market value is. If that's the market value, then
Right.
no
I'm
way.
just telling you, look,
No way.
look at it like this, Dave. You're Sam Darnold, okay? I'm the Steelers. I say, okay, we're going to give you 30 million a year. Chipper over there is the Raiders, and they're dumb, and they're saying, hey, we're going to give you 40 million a year. So what are you worth? You're worth the fucking 40 million because this guy says that you are. That's the way it works.
2026. Okay. Stafford is not a free agent until 2026. Okay.
I mean, you can always be one of those rare breed of quarterbacks that say, okay, the Raiders are going to offer me 40 million. Steelers are going to offer me 35 million. But which situation is better for me to get that ring? You know, you could be that rare.
I mean,
that rare player. That rare
I mean,
quarterback to
you
say,
got.
I prefer the better situation.
I'm
for a
not saying
championship.
that you guys are wrong. I'm just saying that there's, like D said, there's a dumb team out there that's going to pay him. Probably the Raiders.
And that's why I'm pointing out.
I don't think he's going to. I personally don't think that he will get that.
And
I don't
George,
think-
I see your point there. I don't know that I would call Darnold a journeyman. He's only been on 2 other teams, but yeah, maybe a couple of these owners have seen what's gone down and maybe learned their lesson. But I'm telling you right now, there are some really stupid rich people out there, and that they're going to believe that this quarterback, whether it be Darnold or somebody else, is the answer to their football prayers. They're going to overpay.
All right, so George says
just
Zach
happens.
Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Russell Wilson, Kyle Trask, Sam Ellinger are all free agents. You want any of them quarterbacks to get under center for the Steelers next
Do you
year?
want any of those over Sam Darnold?
No. Maybe Justin Fields.
So
Justin, I would.
With that being said, and that's the true list of free agent quarterbacks. Any team will take a Sam Darnold over any of those quarterbacks. So Sam Darnold is sitting there saying, well, you know, all these guys, they've been backups and they're average players at best. Yeah, I think I am worth $40 million because I look at the numbers that I put up last year.
Where is Zach Wilson at now?
I forget.
I can't even remember, to be honest with you.
He's a
Is he
backup.
in San Francisco?
No.
Yeah, I think no.
I don't remember.
Maybe it is San Francisco.
I don't remember.
I
why
do think
hasn't
he's
he played?
more out west.
But if I'm Sam Darnold and I look at this list of free agents, all those quarterbacks right there are pretty much back.
Denver, okay, yeah. He's Bo Nix's. Yes, and he's right. He's with Denver.
They're backup quarterbacks. You go to the Steelers or Vegas and say, all those guys are pretty much backup quarterbacks that haven't seen the field or whatever, or average quarterbacks at best. Look at the numbers that I just put up and took my team to a 15 or 13-4, 15, 14-3 record, whatever it's going to be, to the playoffs, and look at the numbers I put up. Yeah, I think I'm worth $40 million compared to those guys. You want to pay those guys what do you want to pay them? Feel free. But
There's a name not on that list that is probably going to be, and before we run out of time, I want to get you guys' feelings on this. Let's say we get a number 2 wide receiver and we make George Pickens happy and sign him. Roman Wilson's going to be coming back. A quarterback becomes a free agent. Russ and Justin want too much money, but there's a quarterback out there who has kind of a history with Mike Tomlin. Do you go after Aaron Rodgers?
Hell no. No. Hell no.
I just pulled up the list of quarterbacks. There's 31 quarterbacks that are free agents next year. Sam Darnold, top of the list, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, Marcus Mariota, Drew Lock, Jared Stidham, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, Mac Jones, Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo, Case Keenum, Mason Rudolph, Easton Stick, Cooper Rush, Josh Dobbs, Brandon Allen, Nick Mullins, Kyle Trask, Josh Johnson, Kyle Allen, Russell Wilson, Jeff Driscoll, Brett Ripken, Shane Bichette, and that's it. That's all your free agent quarterbacks for next year.
So Sam
The
Darnold-
amount of suck that just came out of your mouth is epic.
So
All right,
Sam
last
Darnold-
question.
Go ahead.
You have two options, and there is no third option. You get Russell Wilson or you get Aaron Rodgers.
Russell Wilson.
I'm taking Aaron.
I'm not putting up with Aaron. I don't think the Steelers will put up with Aaron Rodgers shenanigans.
I watch him every week. I don't think he's as bad as the media makes him out to be.
Correct.
At least he
Correct.
can see over the fucking offensive line.
Correct. So you're good with another year with Russell Wilson playing the way that he is over Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, because I'm guessing that the offensive line will be a hell of a lot better, and then Omar Khan will be smart enough to go out and get a legitimate
Fair
number two
point.
wide receiver.
Well, we will see.
I mean, that's plain and simple. The offensive line, you got what two rookies starting an offensive line, and again, at the beginning of the season, they played great because of who we played against. Now they're being exposed as to who they are because the defense has been better. The hope is that the offensive line will be better because Dan Moore's gone. So we'll hopefully be better at left tackle.
Are you sure Dan Moore's gone?
Yes.
You're
I think
100%.
There's no way.
I
we're
think
extending
so.
him. No way.
Yeah, he's a free agent, and they drafted Broderick in the fucking first round.
Mhm.
He's not going to be on the bench next year at tackle when Troy comes back.
You'll
The
have-
plan is let Dan go and move Broderick to his natural third or left tackle spot. There's no shot that they have plans for Dan Moore to be here next year as the starting left tackle. None.
Your offensive line next year will be Broderick Jones, Isaac Seumalo, Mackenzie Faltano, and
McKenzie.
McCormick.
McCormick, and then the
Zach Frazier.
Zach Frazier. That's your offensive
Yeah.
line next year.
James Daniels will be cut to save cap money, and
Yep.
Dan Moore will not be re-signed for sure. That's
And-
100% the plan.
And hopefully the offensive line will be a hell of a lot better. So yeah, and Omar Khan will get his head out of his ass and get a legitimate number 2 wide receiver. I'll be
So
all right
you're
with Russ.
saying that
I'd be
your
all right
number
with
2
Russ.
wide receiver comes through the draft? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. We just need a legitimate number 2 wide receiver. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
free agency. I don't care
It
if it's
might
Higgins,
be
I don't
Roman
care.
Wilson. Like we don't.
Sure.
That's the greatest mystery of this season is what the fuck happened to this Roman Wilson kid.
He's this
He
year's
might
Corey
be a
Trice.
stud.
He's this year's Corey Trice.
What happened to your boy Chipper Holcomb? Where's he been at?
Cole Holcomb.
Yeah.
He's been hurt.
I mean, it takes him this
Yeah,
long to come
his
back.
window
from an
hasn't
injury?
even been opened yet.
Yeah.
To be fair, his knee got bent in a way that science is not meant to let it bend.
Kind of like Tank Dell.
All right, so we'll get to our picks real quick. Chipper, you got them?
I told you I have them in Messenger, and that's it. I didn't get the chance to put them in the spreadsheet for each game.
Come
so
on,
No.
Chipper.
So no. I mean, if you want to go through everybody's picks as they send them to us, fine. I just don't have them per game.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We appreciate you guys for joining us here on
Yeah.
Steel City Renegades.
Richard Cranium over there.
Dees, thank you for joining us. Have a happy new year. We will do a show next Sunday. Hopefully, we can talk about a Steelers win, maybe, but I don't think they're going to win again this year. Season's over. Throw in the fucking terrible towel. We're done.
So optimistic you are.
Dude, listen. Okay, real quick.
Oh,
one
you missed
question.
it. You missed it last week. He said we're not going to win another game, and then at the end of the show, he fucking picked us to win.
I did. Shh, don't tell nobody. Hey, so real quick. Justin Fields under center next week, or Russell Wilson to give Russell Wilson another week to rest?
Russell Wilson.
It's going to be going to be Russ. Like No question.
It's going to be a meaningful game because we're either going to have the 5th seed or 6th seed. Do we play at Baltimore or do we play at Houston? That's what's going to.
Who do you want to see in the playoffs?
Give me Houston all day.
Houston all day.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. So for Chipper, for D's,
Happy New Year's, D's.
for the Dynamo.
Thanks, bro. You guys too.
We're out until next Sunday. Have a good week and a happy new year to you.